Here's a few more things to structure and format your text in LaTeX. So starting off with lists. At several occasions you might need different lists, and the most important lists are obviously numbered lists and bulleted lists. Let's start off with a bulleted list. You can use if you're working in Overleaf, but the same goes for most offline LaTeX editors. You can use the menu bar with the predefined buttons that already present you with the correct markup. So let's insert a bulleted list here, and on top I find my bulleted list icon, and you can see it starts the begin command, and the command name for the bulleted list is called itemize, and each item command gives you one bullet. So if I'm writing something here and I'm going to say this is item 1, and then I'm going to write item 2 here, and I'm going to write item 3 here, I'm going to save, recompile, then you can see a bulleted list is going to appear and will give me my list here. You can also nest these lists, so I can start another bulleted list below here. This gives me, oh no, this doesn't give me anything. This removes the list in Overleaf, but I can always start another begin itemize here. And I'm going to start here. So yeah, be careful. Overleaf might just remove your list again. But I can obviously write it by hand. And if I do that, you can see for my item 3, I'm getting sublist items here. So if you want to do that, just nest your lists and you're good to go. For the numbered list, going to add one down here, just use this button here, or you type begin enumerate, and again the item command gives you the items, and item sit, item Amit, and this is our numbered list. It's compiling, and here we have the list appearing real soon. There it is, number 1, Dolor, number 2, Sit, and number 3 is on the next page, Ahmet. And the same goes for nesting these lists here. I can start another enumerate here with a few more items, and these will then look like this. A, B, those are the ones that go under item number 3. So you're pretty much free to use any list. There is also a so-called description list should you need that, but I think the itemized list and the enumerate lists are definitely the ones you're going to use the most. Should you need a footnote, there is a very self-explanatory command in LaTeX that is called footnote. So whenever you need to add a footnote, let's say I want to add a footnote here to the word sit, I'm just going to type \footnote, and I'm going to write this is a footnote for something up there. And I'm going to save, recompile the document, and you can see here is the word Ahmet where we added the footnote, where we added the footnote, and it's getting a number. It's getting number 1, and if I scroll down at the bottom of the page, here is where my footnote is located, and it refers here to number 1. And as you can see, there is no space between the word and the footnote. This is on purpose. Never leave a space. Always add it right to the word that demands the footnote. In the same matter, should I want to add another footnote, I can just do the same a little bit here, another one, and this obviously will get the number 2 and will also show up on the same page that the number was placed. So here's my number 2, and if I scroll down, here's the second footnote on the bottom of the page. Another thing that you might need to structure your text is to refer to other chapters. We are in chapter number 2, Yeah, because it's the second one that's been included, and it's called state of the art. And as you can see, it has a so-called label. And if I have a look at the introduction chapter, it also has a label. It's called CHA :introduction. This prefix here is not necessary. It just tells you that this is a label for a chapter, because the label command is very universal. You can use it for a lot of things, and it just shows you, okay, this is a label for a chapter. So should I want to reference the introduction chapter in my state-of-the-art chapter, I can do it as follows. You can see the label was placed right below the chapter command here, as well as in the introduction chapter. So because it's right below the chapter command, it will reference to the chapter. If I go back to my state-of-the-art chapter here, and let's say we have the subsection here, it's called even more further down. Let's go here and let's say like as mentioned in chapter, and now I want to have the number of the introduction chapter. I can use \ref for reference, and you can see Overleaf and also any offline editor should usually give you all the labels that are present in your document somewhere. And you can see if you scroll down, here is the chapter introduction, and if I just reference this, yeah, and say as mentioned, there's a typo, in chapter blah blah blah, and so on and so forth, yeah. Then I can see, once this has been compiled, that the subsection, it's up here, as mentioned in chapter 1. And this is because our chapter was chapter number 1. And I can also, just for demonstration purposes, add another ref command, and I can reference the state-of-the-art label that we have up here. And since this is chapter 2, it will give us a number 2. And you can see the word chapter itself is not included, but the number of the chapter is included. And this is something that you can use and that you should use, because it also gives you a clickable chapter number. If I click on the number 1, I'm jumping to chapter 1. So I'm scrolling down back to my chapter number 2. And if I click to the 2, I'm jumping to the chapter head where the chapter starts. So this is something you definitely want. Those labels don't necessarily have to be on a on a chapter level. You can also add a label to a section, yeah, and just say I'm going to add a label here, and I'm going to give it the sec prefix, and I'm going to call it first_sec. Just call them whatever you want. And I can also add it to my subsection, and I give it another label here. I also could give it a subsec prefix or just another sec, and I'm going to call it like this. So you see, I added 2 labels, and the document's being recompiled, but the label itself, they're not visible. They're just invisible anchors for you to reference to. But now, since I placed those labels, I can use them somewhere in the text. So I can say something like, as seen in section, and then I'm going to reference here first sec, as well as section subsec, and then we just continue here. Then it will reference these 2 numbers. So we have the 2.1 for this section and the 2.1.1 for the first subsection here. You could also add your labels to the subsections and to the paragraphs and even to the subparagraphs, but this is not really meaningful because they don't have a numbering anymore, so you won't get any numbers out of it. So this doesn't make too much sense. What you can do though, if you need to reference to something that doesn't have a number, or that is hidden very deep inside of a chapter so that the chapter head is like 2 pages before your actual reference, you can use a page reference instead. Instead of writing ref, you can use something like this. I'm just going to write which is on page, and then I'm going to use the page ref, and I'm going to use the state of the art. Let's call it, let's use the chapter here. Then it will give me the page that the chapter is on. Yeah, so even more further down, this was down here, which is on page 2. And if I scroll up a little bit, and I'm going to add a page ref here, and I'm going to use the subsec, for example, then I will get the number where the subsection is located, which is also page number 2. So you get the page number, which is also a nice thing to reference to. One final thing, if you have hyperlinks, URLs, so to speak, always use the URL command. Just use URL and just add your URL here, because that will always give you a nicely, where is it? There it is, a nicely typeset URL that also breaks at the end of the line in an appropriate way. So if it's a very long URL, you can be sure that it is, that the line breaks, they do work. This is also something you might want to use in a footnote, because very often you might just want to add a web page to a, let's say, a company name in a footnote. So just take the URL command. Let's say we want to, oops, I removed it. Let's say I want to add a footnote here, and I just want the URL in as a footnote. I'm going to put the URL command in the footnote, and I'm going to recompile the document, and then you can see here there's the footnote in with my URL. So this is how you want to do it. Okay, now you've seen a little bit about text structuring, lists, hyperlinks, and also referencing between chapters. Those are things that you will need quite often. So make sure that you use the appropriate list, that you reference between your chapters, and that you set URLs in the appropriate command.